Today, let us talk about the exam day itself. Now, in the previous video, I talked about how to prepare for your certification, where I talked about a few things that you can do to basically effectively prepare for the exam. Now, for the exam day, what I can recommend is that couple of hours before the exam, read your notes. Because when you read your notes, you will have an opportunity to revise and go through those important and confusing topics. And if you talk about the actual exam itself, what I normally do, which I think you can also try and think about it, when I am starting the exam, I first go through all the simple and short questions. So I read the question, and if I know the answer, I answer it within 2 minutes. So I don't really spend more than 2 minutes on these short and simple questions. And if I have to, let us say, think a bit more about that particular question that I answered, I mark it. So there is an option to mark the question that you can always, come back to. So in the first round, I spend maybe 45 minutes, maybe 1 hour, because my plan in this first round is to go through all the questions and I can answer as much as I can very quickly. Now, in the second round, what I do, I try to attempt the bigger questions. So there will be some questions with maybe 2 paragraphs. Those questions may not be difficult. Those questions can actually be very simple, but when you are starting the exam, in the beginning, you need some warm up. You need to give your brain some time to maybe, get into the speed of reading and, of course, getting comfortable and getting familiar with the format of the exam. So you need some time to warm up. So that is why I leave these big questions for my second round. Now, these big questions may not be difficult, but you can also read the answers. So when I'm, let us say, looking at some use case or maybe there is a scenario, I first read the answers, because when I read the answers, I can immediately eliminate maybe a couple of answers because they don't really make sense. And in the second round, I spend maybe half an hour. Depends really. I mean, this time really depends on the number of big questions, but you get the idea. The idea here is to do the exam in at least 2 or 3 rounds. And the last round is basically an opportunity to review those questions that I marked earlier. So if you think you need to come back to a specific question again, you can mark it and you can think about it if you have, let us say, some time at the very end. Now, the most important part here is that always attempt, always answer these questions, because there is no negative marking. So you can always give your best attempt by answering the best answer as per you. And that answer may be right. So don't really leave any question unmarked, because there is no negative marking as of right now. So the last thing that I want to say is that if you are, let us say, going through a question, and if the question is a bit confusing, a bit challenging, don't really spend too much time on it. Your aim should be to clear the exam, not to feel challenged by those questions. Because if you're reading, let us say, a scenario, or maybe there is a confusing question, you shouldn't be spending too much time wasting if you don't really know the answer. I mean, you can figure out an answer if you maybe, focus, or maybe if you spend a bit more time, but that is not the point here. The point here is to answer as many questions as you can. And if you have time left, then of course, answer those remaining confusing questions, maybe in the second or third round. And this is all I wanted to share in this video. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you learned something new today. Thank you very much.